Game 5 is the most important game in the playoffs, in my opinion. Unless you're down 3-0 and it's going into a game 4, then obviously that becomes the most important game because you might not get to 5. But if a series is going at least 5 games, I do feel like game 5 is the most important because that's a game that can swing momentum. That game can change the entire trajectory of a series. And the Warriors had a 3-1 lead going into game 5 against the Rockets. Could have closed it out in Houston, and they had a chance to close it out, but they didn't. Obviously, Houston got off to a hot start. Jalen Green, he was dealing with a knee injury that game, but Houston was up 40-24, and the Warriors, they had multiple bad turnovers in that second quarter of that game. Even the Rockets, they had some questionable turnovers, but they were able to control it. And they did have a big lead at one point, leading 76-49 at halftime. But the Warriors did start to come back in the fourth quarter. They got the lead down to about 13 points, and the bench was still in. Like, even though Steph and Jimmy were struggling, they're still two of the greatest playoff risers ever. It was seeing Jimmy Butler lead those Heat teams to the finals, and excuse me, in the bubble and as an 8 seed. So those are two, like, the bubble, obviously one of the weirdest situations ever. Then leading that team as an 8 seed, to getting out to play and leading them to the finals. Like, we know what Jimmy Butler can do. Steph isn't just a 4-time champion by luck. He's a 4-time champion because he's one of the best players ever. He's one of the greatest point guards ever. So, and then they leave that, even though those guys are struggling, this is a playoff game. These guys should be in. If you cut that lead, the lead is down to like 12, 13 with about 6 or 7 minutes left. So that was still a winnable game. But Steve Kerr let the bench rock while the Rockets still had their starters in, and they lose that game. And in that game, the Rockets won by 15. Amin Thompson, he had a great game with 25 points, 3 blocks, 5 steals, 3 assists, 6 rebounds, shooting 8 of 12 from the field, and 8 of 9 from the free throw line. So he had a good showing. And Fred VanVleet was good in that game too. So now it's a 3-2 series, and it's headed to Golden State. So, and I had predicted the Warriors win. This is 6. I didn't see, and I'm gonna be honest, I didn't see the Rockets forcing a game 7. But then in this game today, they proved me wrong, and they were able to do that. As in this game 6 tonight, that just wrapped up not too long ago. Uh, the Rockets' defense was great. Like, obviously they've been amazing all season, but they weren't really allowing Steph or Jimmy to really get open early on in the game. And if they did, but they struggled most of the game because Draymond, he had 2 open threes to start the game, because that's how tight they were playing Steph and Draymond, to where the ball was forced to Draymond. And he went 1 and 2 with those first 2 shots, but he didn't make much of an impact all game. Like Steven Adams, Alperen Sengun, they were just able to eat and feast all game with Draymond out there. And it's not because Draymond's not bad, but at a certain point, that's just overwhelming when he's really the one that's trying to guard both of them realistically. And you know, obviously Draymond is great, but he's trying to hold both Steven Adams and Alperen Sengun. And this was actually a competitive game for the most part. And then it was like the Rockets led 53-48 going into halftime. It was a good halftime. Jabari Smith, he made his first 3 field goals of the game. And Quentin Post was in foul trouble. He had 5 points and 5 fouls. And once he picked up that 5th foul, he wasn't really used after that, because Steve Kerr couldn't trust him to keep him in the game to not foul out. And that hurt that team a lot, because even though he's not the greatest defender, as somebody with his height, and he should be better, yes, but he does add the rebounding that they need, and he can shoot the three and make it from time to time. And they weren't able to get that tonight. They weren't able to get that. Kevon Looney wasn't used, if I'm not mistaken, and if he was, he didn't make much of an impact. So that's why Draymond, they was letting him rock at the 5. But Steven Adams, he was feasting with that. Alperen Sengun had another great game. Fred VanVleet, for the 3rd straight game, had 25 or more points. The Warriors at one point were 1 of 16 in the fourth quarter, and that's what really gave the Rockets the advantage, because it was 86-84 going into the 3rd quarter, and they were up 19 at one point. And then they won. The Rockets won 115-107 to tie the series 3 games apiece. It's going back to a game 7, and it's going to be in Houston. And you can talk about inexperience all you want, but Alperen Sengun doesn't look inexperienced. Jeff Green, Fred Van Vliet, Dylan Brooks, Steven Adams, all those guys have playoff experience. And even though Jeff Green might not be playing as much, he's still crucial in that locker room, giving them tips, telling them how to get through moments like this. So even if he's not playing, he's still doing stuff around the locker room that's going to help these young guys. Like even though Jalen Green has looked terrible, Alperen Sengun is not. The inexperience hasn't mattered for him. Amir Thompson, he's played well. He's played great defense. So the only person that inexperience is affecting is really Jalen Green. And Ime Udoka is a great coach. Steph finished with 29 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 9 23 from the field, 16 from 3, 5 6 from the line. So that's how good they played defense on Steph. Even though he had nearly 30, this was one of his least efficient games. And then Steven Adams is who I really wanted to talk about, and how much he just changed his series into helping tie it 3-3. And I'm getting to this game that he just had in a second, but I want to look at the other games he had before that and talk about what he was able to do for this team, because in game 1 they lost that by 10. That was a tough, grounded out game that the Warriors, they looked good in that game. But in those 20 minutes Steven Adams played in game 1, he had 6 points, 12 rebounds, and he was 3 or 4 from the field. So you can already see there that they were going to have trouble rebounding if Steven Adams is able to get 12 just coming off the bench. Because Kevon Looney, Quentin Post, Draymond, no matter who it is, they can't match what Sengun and Steven Adams can do with rebounders as big men. Like, it's no offense against them. It's just that Steven Adams, he's been here before. He's played over 70 playoff games. Probably played more than that. But he has playoff experience. He knows that he's one of the best rebounders in the league. He's crashing the glass hard consistently. And if he's not, and he's consistently closing out possessions, and if he's not, then he'll get the blocks. He'll get the steals. He can really do a lot that's really underappreciated about his game and what he can do. In game 2, when they won, he only had 1 point, 1 steal, and 1 block. They won by 15. He only played 17 minutes in that one. So he wouldn't. And Jalen Green, he was on fire. There was a Jalen Green game. So Steven Adams didn't do much in that, but he was still a good interior presence, and for the Rockets, making the Warriors shots way more difficult. In game 3, he plays 18 minutes. This was a game they lost by 11, but he had 8 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal. So once again, you see he was able to get a steal. You see his rebound numbers look good coming off the bench, because usually 6 rebounds this is the same amount of rebounds Jaren Jackson Jr. gets, and he's starting, and he's playing 30 minutes a game. So think about Jaren Jackson just playing 18 minutes coming off the bench and being able to get 6 rebounds. And it's not just him getting the rebounds and him scoring, it's that he's actually making an impact on the game. So then you get to game 4 where he played 26 minutes, had 5 points, 7 rebounds, 4 blocks. And that was a game they lost by 3, and a game that they could have won, a game that the Rockets should have won. The Rockets let that one get away from them. But Steven Adams had such a great impact on that game that kept it close. That's why the final score was 109 to 106, because he got the crucial blocks that he needed. He got the rebounds. He was doing it all in that game 4, when they went down 3-1. But none of these losses you can put on Steven Adams. And this most recent win, you can say that he contributed to that, but you can't put any of these losses on Steven Adams, because what he does his job so well. They want him to go out there and crash the glass hard. They want him to play good defense. They want him to get the easy points in the paint, and he does all of that. So they're down 3-1. In game 5, his minutes, they dropped. He played 17 minutes, had 6 rebounds and 1 assist. The Rockets win by 15. One of the most important things of the game is rebounding. Like, if you're not able to out-rebound your opponent, you're probably not able to outscore them, because getting those second chance opportunities is crucial. Closing out possession on the defensive end is crucial. That's why I didn't want to compared to Jaren Jackson again, I didn't want to give him DPOY this year, and I'm glad that Evan Mobley won it, because Evan Mobley is better at closing out possessions than Jaren Jackson is. So now it's a 3-2 series, and Steven Adams has played quality minutes in all these games. He's playing at least 17 minutes a game. He's getting you a few rebounds. He He didn't have an impact in game 2, no, but those other games he did have an impact. He was playing great defense. He was getting rebounds. He was crashing the glass hard. And then in this game 6 that took place tonight, he had his best game of the series, one of his best games in a while. He played some of the most minutes he's played in a while. He finished the game playing 31 minutes, had 17 points, 5 rebounds, 1 steal, 3 blocks, went 4-4 from the field, and went 9-16 from the free throw line. And you see his free throws went up because they try to hack a Adams, the hack a Shaq as people call it. But he made his last 4 free throws, and 5 of his last 6, if I'm not mistaken. He had struggles early on as somebody who shoots 55, 56% from the free throw line over the season, but towards the end of the game, he's a veteran. He's not trying to miss these on purpose, but he knows that he's going to have to try extra hard to make these free throws, and that's what he did towards the end of the game to get him a big lead towards the end. And Steven Adams, what he did, him being able to score, get the easy points. He got to the free throw line because they were fouling him, and he made 9 free throws. Then he scored 4 layups in the paint, just getting some easy looks like the Rockets. Really great ball movement tonight. And Steven Adams changed this series so much because him being able to play minutes like these and not get taken off the court is so crucial. Like, Ime Udoka could have easily took him out because he was missing free throws, but he was also playing great defense and getting blocks. He was also getting rebounds. He's doing this coming off the bench. Like, those 5 rebounds are super important because the Warriors lack size. So he's taking advantage of that. You have to be able to take advantage of that. And as you see, Sengun, he had 14 rebounds tonight. So, but the two big lineup worked really well. Like Dillon Brooks, who's been one of their best players this year, was not in those last few minutes of the game because Steven Adams was so good, and they had to keep him in. Despite him missing free throws, he was still getting the easy buckets. He was playing good defense. He was getting rebounds. He was closing out possessions. He was crashing the glass on the offensive end. Even if he wasn't getting the rebounds, he was able to tip it out for somebody else to get it. So great game from Steven Adams, and he's been super crucial in this series. He's been super important to the Rockets and their success so far, even over the course of the season, because he's did all this. He's obviously not played this many minutes in a while, but shout out to Steven Adams. And this is a 3-3 series. It's going 7. Steve Kerr, that game 5 is going to haunt you if y'all lose this series. If the Warriors lose this series, it's because of that game 5 when he didn't put his starters back in. But leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment your thoughts about this series in general, or about the video about my thoughts on Steven Adams and what he's been able to provide for the Houston Rockets.